Hey everyone, John Henry here, Slingshot Futures Trading Group, SSFTG. Today we're going to be taking a look at the differences and comparisons of price volume and time volume. Now, when we're looking at price volume and time volume, what do I mean between the two? Well, first off, price volume is relatively straightforward speaking, the amount of volume that traded at any given price. Think order flow as an example. Now, on the other side of things, let's say time volume. Well, time volume then would be the amount of time it took during any specific period. So if you're looking at a 15-minute candle, whatever one had, the most or least amount of volume in a 15-minute period. That's what I mean by time volume. Now, there's a lot of information that we can derive from both of them in comparison. So here would be a really good example on this drive down on the NASDAQ that's going on today. If we look at the overall volume, one thing stands out incredibly obvious. We have way higher volume than we've had for, well, a very long time. Geez. If we put a line on top of that volume, let's see, when was the last time they actually had volume above that? Okay, the last time they had any volume above that was back on the 11th. Now, if we look at what actually took place there, does it give us any clues? Well, that ended up being within about a week or two of the bottom, the last time that they put in that much volume. It wasn't before. There were a couple different pulses to the downside, though. And before that, there weren't really any other major volume nodes that far out. So this is really the largest volume that this market has seen in a very long time. And, well, we're having it take place in the exact same way that it did last time, where the market is falling lower, and we see the biggest volume that it's had in a very long time that could be a sign that the bottom is nearer than farther away. Now, as far as price volume goes, comparative to time volume, we can see that the time volume is incredibly high. And if we look at which candle that was, if we zoom in really, really, really close, and we see what candle was the one that put in the volume, we can see it's this bull bar right there. That's the one that plotted all of the volume. So what we want to do is we want to see, well, if that's the one that plotted the biggest volume that took place over the past however long, where was that volume? Where did it take place? And we can see there was a nice little chunk of volume here, but the POC, the majority of the volume, traded at 14,500. Now, normally that would be a relatively kind of innocuous place. Like, okay, 14,500, nice psychological level. But this is the largest volume that it's traded since May. Okay, right? That's been a long time, months, since it's traded that much volume. And now we're seeing it plotted at a psychological level like 14,500. So really what this tells us is, although we may not be at the bottom, this is a pretty big clue that, well, judging from the last time that took place, it happened before another slide lower, and then it ended up being the bottom for a very long period of time. And here we can already see that volume node is demonstrating a lot of supportiveness and a lot of resistance. We're coming back to it right now as I'm recording this. This is a really big hot topic zone of interest, likely over the next couple weeks. We're probably going to chop around here, at least based on what we've seen historically. And that's kind of the difference between looking at the price volume versus time volume. Price volume is telling us where the volume was traded. Time volume tells us how much during what specified amount of time. And when we have these big, giant chunks of volume that come in, it's usually a clue. And if we look back at the last time that actually happened, if we go way back to when we had that, well, where is it? There it is. It was right over here. Let's zoom in on there. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. What candle was it? It was this giant bull bar right there. Let's see what volume actually took place. And that volume is at 13,154. And here again, when the market broke above it, they demonstrate support, 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 really strong follow through. When the market came back to that area, if we zoom out a little bit further and put a line on that as far as the price volume is concerned, that level was a massive battleground for the majority of a morning session on the US. When they finally worked through it, it was pretty clean and clear. The market worked its way back up, acted as very strong resistance, now resistance, then broken above, support. Obviously, this is 13,155. We're miles away from that, but you can see the fight isn't necessarily over. We have our price volume and we have our time volume. We've got the actionable zones of interest. Now it's just a matter of seeing when they finally win the fight. And you can see when they finally do win the fight, there's usually one last pulse, and then it goes absolutely ham to the upside. And that's kind of what we're waiting for similarly over here. But notice where we are. It's incredibly early to the party, considering that it just formed at this 14,500. But this will be a good zone of interest as we're continuing. You can see it's actually bouncing off of it right now, where we'll be able to utilize this potentially for the next few weeks to trade off of. And this creates a fantastic zone of interest to keep our eyes on. So hopefully you found this useful, interesting, and something you can add to your tool belt, because this combination of time and price in terms of volume can really give a solid 1-2 punch in what to expect. We see, based on repetition, that we're expecting a bottom to be sooner than later over the next 2 weeks. It's a longer term move, but we also have our line in the sand, 14,500. And that will give us an idea as to where the market is trying to respond and likely give us plenty of scalpable opportunities over the next couple weeks. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the comments section below. And of course, if you have a more detailed question that you need a heavier response to, you can always shoot me an email to jhb@ssftg.com. Until the next one, we'll talk to y'all then. Thanks.